So I've owned a Steam Deck OLED for almost a year now, and I just kind of asked myself if I would still recommend it to people. There are a lot of things that made me ask this question myself. Some of those reasons are the announcement of the new Steam machine, the amount of games that require better hardware, the rise of similar handheld PCs, and the cost of the Steam Deck. 10 years after Valve's first Steam machine was introduced, they announced their new Steam machine on November 12th, 2025. They haven't given us a price or a release date yet, but people are already speculating that it's going to be pretty expensive, especially after Valve themselves stated it won't be priced like a console, it'll be priced like a PC, unlike the Steam Deck. So the Steam Deck still holds some value even if the Steam machine is said to be around 6 times more powerful. My next worry about the Steam Deck is that the newest games that have released this year require some pretty decent hardware to be able to run. Most new games aren't even available on the last generation of consoles. A few games that I can think of off the top of my head are Marvel Spider-Man 2, Ghost of Yotai, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and Astrobot. Some of these games aren't playable on PC yet, but if the developers didn't optimize them for last-gen consoles, I don't really think they'd run on the Steam Deck very easily. However, the Steam Deck wasn't made to play those kinds of games, the very high-fidelity next-gen titles. It was mostly made to be a portable PC that can play many, if not most, of your Steam games very well. I don't think Valve intended this to be someone's main console. I think they wanted it to be more for people who like to play games casually and who don't mind having the best graphics in their games, which is not at all a bad thing. I personally have gotten a lot of use out of my Steam Deck. It has become something that I use on a daily, and I have gotten practically all of the games that I play running on at least medium graphics. Recently, I have been replaying the Arkham games, and I have been able to get those games up to the highest settings at 90 FPS. Arkham Knight, I did have to lower some settings like shadow quality and like texture resolution, but other than that, it runs great. So the Steam Deck fits my playstyle very well. I can't say that it'll fit everyone else's in terms of fidelity, but if you don't mind tinkering with graphic settings to run your games well, then the Steam Deck might be something you should look further into. Now I want to talk about the Steam Deck's real competition, which is all the PC handhelds flooding the market, such as the ROG Ally X, Lenovo Legion Go, and the ROG Xbox Ally. There are plenty more, but those are some that I think would give the Steam Deck some real competition. The reason I think these handhelds specifically would give the Steam Deck competition is for a few reasons. The reason the ROG Ally X would compete with the Steam Deck is because of the RAM increase over the Steam Deck, the 1080p resolution screen, as well as the fact that it's running Windows instead of Linux, which basically means it's just compatible with more games, specifically games that use certain anti-cheats, such as Easy Anti-Cheat. The ROG Xbox Ally has many of the same reasons, except the CPU chip is slightly better using the Ryzen Z2 Extreme chip rather than a Z1 Extreme. The reasons the Legion Go would compete with the Steam Deck is because it has 8 more gigabytes of RAM and its 4K 144Hz display. Like the Ally handhelds, it also runs Windows. All these handhelds are great, but with everything I've said, I forgot to mention the prices. The pricing on the Steam Deck is honestly very fair. However, now that Valve has stopped manufacturing the LCD model, the price is a fair bit more expensive. The cheapest option for the Steam Deck used to be the LCD model, sitting at 100 or 400 USD. Compared to the OLED model, this version lacked the beautiful OLED screen, was limited to a 60Hz 1280 by 720 resolution display, and had other small differences like a smaller fan, worse battery life, slower charging, and inferior touchscreen. This caused issues like the fan being loud and the device quickly dying while playing very high demanding games. The LCD model was still more than usable and affordable, being one of the cheapest PC handhelds on the market. The most expensive version of the Steam Deck is the 1TB OLED model. This model featured a 90Hz 1280 by 800 resolution OLED display. It came with a bigger fan, a better battery, and a nicer touchscreen, with better haptics as well. This model also had a special acid-etched screen to prevent glare. Valve also made a sort of middle ground option, that being the 512GB OLED model. This had all of the benefits of the 1TB model, but obviously less storage, and it did not come with the anti-glare screen. These are all great options, but I think it might be more fair to talk about the pricing of the other handhelds that I talked about. After saying this, I realized that I didn't even say the prices of the other two Steam Decks. So the 1TB OLED is $650, and the 512GB OLED is $550. So my bad. The ROG Ally X isn't even available anymore, seemingly killed by the Xbox Ally, but from what I've seen on eBay, it's going for around $840. Luckily, the Xbox Ally is still available, so that'll be much cheaper and compete with the Steam Deck's price more, right? Right?
Wrong!
Asus is asking $1,000 for the Xbox Ally, and compared to the Steam Deck's prices, it's not even kind of close. Okay, well, the Legion Go has to be pretty cheap, and at least be within $100. Wrong! The Legion Go is $1,100, so it's $100 more than the Xbox Ally. Do you see my point here? None of these other handhelds can even come close to competing with the price of the Steam Deck. Yes, this is only a select few, but they are the best of the best, and what I believe can really compete with the Steam Deck. And at least with price, the Steam Deck wins hands down. Now, the Steam Deck is far from perfect. I'm sure many people will see this video and think they like the other handhelds more, which is totally fine. I'm not making this video to persuade you to buy a Steam Deck. I just wanted to see how it competes with other handhelds on the market. I think that all the other handhelds are great. I personally haven't owned them, but from reviews I've seen online, it seems like the Windows operating system is just very hard and confusing to run on handhelds. It also doesn't offer the same kind of benefits that SteamOS offers, like the extra game compatibility system that Valve has created, which just means that a lot of games actually have potential to run better on the Steam Deck than other Windows handhelds. SteamOS also offers a console-like experience, as well as the option to use it as a regular Linux-based PC in a very smooth and fluent way. But with all that being said, you have your own free will, and if you'd rather have a Windows handheld, I'm not stopping you. I'm making this video to answer the question of, does the Steam Deck still hold up in going into 2026? And I think yes, it absolutely does. I hope you enjoyed this video, and that I helped answer the question. This is my first video in this kind of format, and I had a lot of fun making it. It was very challenging, but if you liked it, please let me know. And until next time, I'm going to keep playing my Steam Deck. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.